Scientifically speaking, we're sharing the view. From labs to clinics, breakthrough shining through. With minds that inspire and stories to unfold. Scientifically speaking, the future's being told.
Welcome to another episode of Scientifically Speaking with Christine on Oz Arab Media. Today, we're exploring a topic that is deeply relevant to thousands of Australian families, which is the National Disability Insurance Scheme, or as most people know it, NDIS. While many people know the name, fewer really understand the system behind it, the planning, the personalised support models, and evidence based approaches that are designed to improve independence, well being, and participation in society. So, our guest today is Nahreen Kaae from Accessible Disability Support, who works closely with participants and families navigating the NDIS system every single day. Nahreen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christine. It's great to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity and the trust you have placed in me and the work we do at Accessible Disability Support. I work, I work with participants and families every day, so I hope give people a practical understanding of how the NDIS works in real lives.
Amazing. I am sure we have the right person there to ask our questions. So let me start from the beginning and very simply, what do you think is NDIS and what problem was it originally designed to solve?
The easiest way I often explained it to families is that the NDIS helps people with a permanent and or significant disability to live more independent and enjoy a better quality of life. So before the NDIS, the support people receive often dependent on where they lived and what services were available. Some people received good support while some others missed out. So the NDIS was created to provide fairer support based on individual needs, goals, and circumstances rather than using same approach for everyone.
Lovely. That sounds like a good system. But many people, Nareen, think it's just funding. But what is really the scientific idea, if I can say, behind the personalized disability support?
That's a great question because many people think that NDIS is just about funding. Funding is important, but what changes life is how the support and funding are used. So every participant is different. The idea behind personalized support is to understand the individual and ask, what does a good life look like for them? Then we build support to help them achieve that.
Wonderful. Sounds great. And from your experience, Nareen, what are the biggest misunderstandings family have when they first enter this system?
Probably the biggest misunderstanding is that the NDIS will fix every problem. I see many families are often dealing with housing issues, health issues, financial stress, and many other challenges. The
Right.
NDIS can help with disability related support, but it can't solve everything.
It's not a miracle, unfortunately.
Yeah, and another common misunderstanding is that families have to navigate everything by themselves. As I see families become overwhelmed by all the information, but the good news is there are support coordinators, providers, advocates, local area coordinators, and community organizations that can help guide them through the processes.
Lovely. And how does the NDIS actually improve someone's day to day life beyond just providing services? Because I'm sure you see them every day.
Yeah, the biggest changes often come from the small things people do every day. For
Mm.
example, I have seen people who rarely left the house start attending community activities, making friends, and becoming more confident. And I have seen participants learn to manage their daily routine more independently. I also have seen families go from feeling completely overwhelmed to finally having some support around them. So, those everyday improvements have a huge impact on quality of life.
Lovely. That sounds very promising. And what role do providers like yourself at Accessible Disability Support really play in turning funding into real meaningful outcomes?
To be honest, funding alone doesn't change lives. The
Mm,
difference comes from using it in the right way to help people achieve their goals. At
mm,
Accessible Disability Support, we spend a lot of time listening to participants and their families. We take time to understand each person's needs, goals, and challenges, then provide the right support to help them become more independent, build
lovely.
confidence, and live the life they choose.
Amazing confidence and the independence that you've just mentioned. Can you share some examples that you saw really created improvements in independence?
Absolutely. I have worked with participants who were completely dependent on their family members for
Mm,
many daily tasks, and over time they learn skills that gives them much greater independence.
mm,
Another example, I have worked with people who were socially isolated
wow.
and now regularly participate in community activities and have developed friendship. I also have seen participants improve their communication through therapy and become much better at expressing their needs and making decisions.
Love.
Sometimes people look at those improvement and think they are small, but for
Mm.
that individual and their family, they can be life changing.
Indeed, they can be life changing. And I'd like maybe to spotlight a more invisible aspect of it, which is really their independence and their dignity. So, one major concern that families might have is thinking they're losing control. So, how does NDIS really model to protect these participants in their choice and in their dignity?
Choice and control are actually the foundation of the NDIS.
Mhm.
Participants should be at the center of every decision. They choose their goals, they choose who support them, they choose how those support are delivered. A good provider doesn't tell people what to do. A good provider gives people informations, options, and support so they can make informed decision for themselves.
Lovely. That's great. And Nareen, there's a lot of people out there that receive NDIS services, especially those in different communities. So, how important do you think is cultural understanding when delivering disability support, especially in culturally diverse and linguistically diverse communities, maybe like ours, the Arab ones?
It's extremely important. Working
Mm,
with multicultural communities, I often see families who may not fully understand disability services,
right.
or who come from cultural where disability is viewed differently. Language barrier can also make things more difficult.
Mhm.
So when family can communicate in their own language and feel that their culture, values, and beliefs are respected, trust develops much faster. I
Mm.
also have seen families become far more engaged with services once they feel understood and supported in culturally appropriate way.
Lovely. It is great to hear because we know a lot of people that might just, their confidence stops them only because they don't speak the language properly. So great to hear there's services out there for them. Nareen, tell me, what are some emotional or systematic barriers families really face when trying to access certain support?
Many families are already exhausted before they even start. They are caring for loved ones, attending
Mm,
appointments, managing paperwork, and trying to understand a very complex system. Then
mm,
add things like language barrier, long wait time, constantly changing policies, and confusion around eligibility or planning processes, which can all make things more difficult.
mm.
It's understandable why people feel overwhelmed. That's why advocacy, education, and support are so important.
Lovely, lovely. Now, if I want to tackle another aspect of this industry and speak a little bit about the future of it, definitely NDIS itself is evolving, but how much is the approach to disability shifting from care to capacity building is evolving there?
I think this is one of the most positive changes we have seen. Years
Mm,
ago, support was often about doing everything for the participant. Now
mm,
we are focusing much more on helping people build skills and independence. Instead of asking how we do things, how we can do things for you,
mm.
we are asking how can we support you to do more for yourself. that sh-
Right.
yeah, so that shift creates a better long-term outcomes and gives people more confidence and control over their lives.
Right. And now, with the era of technology and AI, do you see technology playing a bigger role in the future plans? Things like maybe assistive tools or even digital supports happening in NDIS at all?
Without doubt, I doubt technology is already changing lives, whether it's communication devices, mobility equipment, telehealth services, or smart home technology. We are seeing more opportunity for people to live independently. I think technology will continue to play a major role in helping people participate more fully in everyday life.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, Nareen, being yourself in this industry for quite a while and with your experience, let me ask you a little question. What would you like to see change to make the system more accessible and easier for families to understand?
If I could change one thing, I would
Mm,
make the system simpler. Many
yeah,
families struggle with the language, the paperwork, and the constant changes.
the
I would love,
sophistication of it.
I would love to see clearer communications, faster decision, and more education available for families, especially those from culturally and linguistically diverse background. The less time families spend trying to understand the system, the more time they can spend focusing on their goals and their loved ones.
That is amazing to hear. Look, Nareen, I'm sure that NDIS is a very big topic. And
Yeah,
if we want to ask all the questions, we won't finish in one or two or even three episodes. But
that's
that was a little, maybe idea of how things work. And before I end the show, usually I'd like to do a little quiz or a game in scientifically speaking, which I call it the myth busting. So I usually like to give you some NDIS related statements. And if you can tell me if it's true or false, and maybe a little why. Are you ready?
yes.
Let's do this. Okay, my first statement is NDIS is only for people with severe physical disabilities. What do you think?
False. The NDIS support people with many different types of disability, including intellectual disability, autism, psychosocial disability, neurological conditions, sensory impairment, and physical disabilities.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Very diverse. The
yes.
second one, families must manage everything alone.
No, as I mentioned before, there are support coordinators, local area coordinators, providers, advocates, and community organization available to help families navigate the system.
Amazing. The
Yeah.
third point, if someone works, they can't receive NDIS support.
False. Many NDIS participants work, study, volunteer, and
Wow.
even run businesses. In fact, the NDIS often helps people participate more actively in employment and community lives. And there is an example of this, and there is a provider who himself is NDIS participant, and
Oh,
he is the
wow.
director of this company. Yes,
Oh, wow. That's interesting to know.
yes.
Great. All right. Another one. NDIS funding is permanent and never reviewed.
No, NDIS plan can be reviewed and updated as persons' needs, goals, and circumstances change. So
Lovely. So it
even
can
if
go up or down.
yeah, even if the plan gets approved, let's say today, and then the client is unhappy with their plan, they can do internal review within the 3 months, and then at any time they can just lodge a change of circumstances.
Amazing. And my last statement for today, support always has to happen at home.
No, NDIS support can be provided at home, in the community, at work, or anywhere that people that helps a person achieve their goals.
Oh, wow. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Lovely. Nareen, I really want to thank you again for joining us today and for helping us unpack the science and structure behind the NDIS. You were definitely the right person to ask all the questions. Thank you again.
Thank you. At the end of the day, after working with so many participants and families, I have realized that the NDIS isn't really about funding. It's about
Right.
people. It's about giving opportunities. It's about dignities, independence, inclusion, and choice. I have seen firsthand what can happen when the right support are put in place. I have seen participants achieve things they never thought possible, and families finally feel hopeful about the future.
Wow.
The NDIS isn't perfect, and there is always room for improvement. But when it works well, it can genuinely change lives. And that's why the work we do is so important.
Amazing. I was going to say that thanks to people like you and providers like yourselves, now we can understand and navigate a better life, in a better way. So thank you once again. And before I close today, I'd like to tell our audience if you or someone you know is navigating disability support, reaching out for guidance can definitely be the very first step towards independence and meaningful participation in the community. This was Christine with Scientifically Speaking on Oz Arab Media. Until next time.